Speaking of rain, 12 years ago in 2005, there was a storm that came through New Orleans called Hurricane Katrina. And it did a lot of damage here. And it displaced a lot of families. And there's still a lot of areas of the city and the surrounding areas that have yet to rebuild. Now I'm going to show you one of those right now. These are the Calliope Projects. The street that I'm on is Calliope. It's spelled the same way as Calliope, but it's pronounced Calliope here. Officially, these were called the B.W. Cooper Apartments. But it's been since renamed to the Marrero Commons, and the buildings have been torn down to be rebuilt into townhomes for mixed-income residents. The original buildings that stood here were built in 1939, and in the 90s, these projects were considered the bloodiest projects in the city. At the end of the street that the projects sit on is the Booker T. Washington High School that has been abandoned since Hurricane Katrina hit and displaced all the families that were in those homes, in those buildings. However, they are rebuilding it and remodeling it for the families that are coming back and for new families. Prior to Hurricane Katrina hitting, the buildings that were here were actually already condemned, or some were condemned. But once Katrina hit and displaced the families, the housing authority decided it would be a good time to tear these old buildings down and rebuild them as townhomes. There was a lot of protesting because of that as well. People wanted to come back to what they already had, and they were afraid that by the housing authority tearing down the old buildings, this one here is waiting to be torn down. Protesters, they were afraid that they would lose the housing completely. They didn't think that the housing authority would actually rebuild anything. You know, since Katrina, these things have been abandoned, and they've built new ones down that way. But this one, they're about to tear down, just as they've done these other ones here. And now there's nothing left but the foundation in all of these places. The few buildings that do remain are all fenced off and full of graffiti, and they're just waiting to be torn down, like the rest of them were. I can remember driving past these old buildings as a kid when they were in slightly better shape than they are now. And then I remember as an adult, right after Katrina, seeing these things abandoned and emptied, and then seeing them torn down and bulldozed and the land cleared and new construction going up. People lived in these places. You can even see the satellite dishes still up there. And now it just sits empty. A place for people to spray paint their graffiti on it. On a positive note, this neighborhood is the side that they've already rebuilt. All these apartments that you see here is the new Marrero Commons, formerly known as the B.W. Cooper Housing Complex. A lot of the residents were hired and given jobs to work on these homes. They're beautiful homes. Beautiful townhomes. Much better than what used to be sitting here. So although change was hard, ultimately it was for the better. And families got to come home, and as they tear down these other old buildings and build the new ones, the rest of the families that have been displaced will hopefully get to come home as well. You know, it still blows my mind that in 2017, 12 years after the storm hit, that there's still families displaced and not living here. They did manage to build some new buildings, but they need to build more. And they've torn down some of the old ones, but they need to rebuild those things and bring more families back that were once living here and give them a better place to live. Thanks for watching. Please make sure to subscribe. I post a new video every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'll see y'all next time.